Hello and welcome back to Black Girl Gamers Online Summit. My name is Nikichi Gamer and I will be your moderator for today's panel on talent agencies, influencer agencies, and everything in between. Now here at Black Girl Gamers, we have our own bespoke talent agency called BGG Talent, where we take our creators that within the community and we put them in front of opportunities. Like, for example, we have Call Me Asia with her Google Lens advertisement, Cleo Thomas for Converse, and the very many Get Ready With Me streams in collaboration with Benefit Cosmetics. Now, as creatorpreneurship becomes more appealing to young influencers, our panelists today will explore the opportunities that these creators can take to develop relationships with brands, understand their rights as creators, and how to maintain their authenticity and remain true to themselves as they grow their brands. Today, we have joining us Andy Lunique, who is the former Director of Creator Programs for Bungie. We have Ari Hayward, who is the Manager for Talent Partnerships and Influencer Marketing for Target. And we have Niles M. Heron, who is the Head of Strategy for Verse and Hook. So let's go ahead and meet our panelists. All right. Hello everybody. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us. And I'm just going to go ahead and have you guys introduce yourselves to the people watching. They want to know a little bit more about you and who you are. So let's start with you, Andy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andy, aka Chef Andy Lunique, former Bungie, but currently working under NDA at a company that you all probably know, but we're not ready to talk about all that right now, as Global Director of Creators. Two-time author, worked at various companies like Discord, Xbox, and Amazon even. Geez, it's been a minute. And happy dad right now. So it's a pleasure. Very blessed to be here. Really good to see you all.
All right. And Ari?
Hi, I'm Ari Hayward. I'm a manager of talent partnerships and influencer marketing at Target. And before that, I worked at some ad agencies, and I've spent the last 11 years of my career working directly with creators, such as like Ghetto Gastro and a bunch of like talent across tech and food space. So I'm excited to be here.
All right. Thank you, Ari. And last but certainly not least, Niles.
No, I mean, listen, we have a pretty stacked panel. My name is Niles Heron. Currently, I'm the head of strategy at a boutique marketing and storytelling agency called Verse and Hook here in Detroit, Michigan. Previously, I was a co-founder and head of culture and comms and content. A bunch of other hats that I wore over a 7-year run as a co-founder of Loaded, which is one of the premier management firms for gaming talent in space, Twitch and YouTube talent. Gotten a lot of reps in this discussion.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. As a creator myself, I know a lot of these questions, and this discussion is definitely going to be very beneficial to a lot of different people. So I just want to go ahead and get into it. So the first question I have for you all is, how can creators stand out to brands and make an impression with their work? Niles, let's start with you.
I think that especially as you build your audience, understanding why your audience is listening to you, why your audience comes and shows up to you is a big secret or a big opportunity when it comes to then how you work with brands, right? Brands generally are reaching out to a creator because you can do a better job of selling a product than they can. I think being super pragmatic about this stuff really helps, but also understanding that like your audience comes to you because of something special for them. How do you not sacrifice one to serve the other, right? How do you serve the brand without sacrificing what your audience is coming to you for? Because you can, right. Everybody is going to, in this room or listening, will eventually probably be able to do one brand. The question is, can you do two and 3 and 4 without then diluting your audience and making them feel like you are effectively selling them to the brand? That's where things get kind of shaky.
Okay. And Ari, how do you feel about that?
I agree with figuring out what Niles said, how, like, why people are coming to you, focusing on that and making that your thing. And like I feel like you don't have to sacrifice it if you figure out that grounding early enough, or even if you're later in the game and understanding what that is. A really good example that came to mind is there's a creator called Skylar Marseille. She does amazing travel content. She does it so well. And that's her niche. Like, and she works with brands like Delta. She's worked with us. She's worked across so many brands, but she's known for creating worlds and building worlds via her travels and her creative eye. So If you know that people are coming to you for your gaming content, for your streams, whatever it is, you're funny, like there's certain things are cool things that apply only to you, and people are literally in the comments like, I love this thing about you. Lean into that and figure out how you can position that, because that's what brands are looking to monopolize and work with you on figuring out how to funnel in product priorities and things like that, because it's a whole, trust me, a whole thing on the backside of like what brands are trying to work with creators to help promote and push, depending upon quarter, season, and like all these other conditions.
Okay. And Andy, same question. How can creators stand out to brands? What's something that we can do to kind of get the brands to pay attention to us and want to work with us?
Well, I'm going to answer this question on the logistical side, because I try hard to train the teams that I work with and the agencies that I work with to look for creators based on the criteria. And we find that we struggle finding the right folks because they might be out of sync with the context and what we're looking for. I'll use games as an example. If we're, what's next month? Black Myth Wukong, big game next month. Everybody's excited. If you're not playing games within that genre in the last 3 to 4 months, the search that they're using to find those creators is now behind. So if you've been all about The Sims or all about GTA this entire time, your algorithm isn't doing you any favors. So that particular example works contextually to any other genre. So you have to set yourself up to make sure that you're in those spaces so that Venn diagram overlaps, and it makes you a bit more discoverable. Now, granted, the advice that's been given over the years of making yourself presentable, contactable, that's all standard, but now you've got to play the game and make sure that you have context to who you want to work with. So if you're thinking about big picture, I know everybody wants to play Grand Theft Auto, and that is going to be a day one game for everybody. If you want early access and all those other questions that are going to be asked about being first, sure, but you got to think about the long game. That game's not going away for 4 or 5 years. How do you position yourself to look interesting to a rock star, to the agencies? So that's probably the best way to stand out, because then they're going to look at you as somebody that's valuable to consider for the campaigns they're working with.
Okay. Now I do have a follow-up question to that in relation to what you said. How are brands actually going about putting together this Venn diagram? Like, are you guys just kind of going through Twitch and searching categories and seeing like who comes up, or how does that work?
You want the truth or the lie?
I want the one that's going to get us the deal.
Oh, listen, I'm not gonna lie about it. And Niles knows this probably better than I have, because we have crossed paths on emails. And it's a mess, okay? I'm not gonna BS through it. It's a complete mess half the time, okay? Because what happens is, depending on when the campaign's going live, when they have time, when the budget's actually selected, what's happening is the searching functions that we're using all depends on what we're trying to achieve, and then whether or not we're doing the searching in-house or the agency's doing it or we're going third-party beyond it. Yeah, it's a mess. You've got tools that are just looking at data based off of visibility and genre. Then you got folks who are manually in the channels looking. So I'm not going to lie and say that it's this organized program. It is everywhere all the time. And to say that it's getting more organized,
and sometimes it's super organized.
Yeah, sometimes it's super organized. Absolutely. 9 times out of 10 though.
Yeah, no, listen, like a lot of times you're trying to fill, and Ari, I definitely, so I feel like you might have a very specific and unique insight on this one, but Andy, I want to double tap on what you just said, that you have represented some of the more organized brands. You have represented some of the brands that have more budget than others playing in the space. If you look at the spread of brands that are looking to connect with the audiences that the target demo for this question all represent, you can spend all day chasing the demographic profile that would make you a great fit for the game coming out next month, and you will be able to do that in every 6-month cycle of your career, and you might never get chosen based on that. And so for me, from the creator management side, not brand side, like Loaded has a brand rep agency called Open World. We do a lot of the sort of more sophisticated data analysis and Venn diagram overlapping and very smart humans making very smart choices and suggesting things. Like we do that stuff, right? The creator's actual impact or capacity to drive that decision making is actually pretty small. The thing you can control as a creator is serving your audience. If you serve your audience, but anybody else serves your audience, brands have to work with you to get your audience.
Absolutely.
That is a thread that can cut through, because you can play an algorithm game all day and not win. And I don't want you to ever feel like that is indicative of your value, because it's not. There's some luck involved there.
Okay.
If I had to say, to piggyback off what both of you just said, something that came to mind is, if you're trying to have a better opportunity or connect with brands or get into that wheelhouse or this Venn diagram, because it is a whole entire thing. Trust me, I work with agency partners, my agency partners on a daily basis when it comes to finding talent. And sometimes it's people I throw in the pot, and 9 out of 10 is them. But every brand and agency, for the most part, at least somewhere in that wheelhouse of people, is using software. So your Creator IQ, your Captivate, your Aspire, Aziza, look into getting yourselves registered on those, because creators can. You can reach out, you can get yourself registered and make sure you know your data, your analytics, how much of your audience is female, how much of your audience is male. You know, is your audience heavy in the US, or do you have a bunch of people in India who watch your stuff? Because then you could talk to brands in India. So you have to really to the point, be more pragmatic, be really logistic, like really get into the data of it all, which is very boring at times, but it's really useful, because a lot of people don't know that, like, I'm on Creator IQ like multiple times a week. I know my agency partners are, and they use that to validate and provide rationale to me, so I could take it to my boss and be like, hey, this person has 60% of US following. Most of them are in the South. We need to read, like, it hits certain things. So I would say look into these platforms that are being used by agencies and brands to search for talent like yourselves, and get yourself registered and see, like, reach out and see what that process is. Because some of them, if they're verified, will be like, oh, like, this person is verified through this thing. So I would say that's an option to look into that.
Okay. That's a lot. I'm going to have to start writing. I'm going to have to watch this back and write all this down, because that's a lot of good information. All right. So with that being said, I know for, like, I consider myself an emerging creator. You know, I don't have like the biggest following or anything, but I do also see that, you know, people that are kind of where I am can still work out deals and partnerships and things like that. So my question to you all is it still about like your follower account? Because for a lot of us, that CCV just messes us up every time. So what do brands actually look for now at this point when it comes to finding the right creators and influencers to work with? Andy, start with you.
If I can be honest, regarding the folks who are a little bit more future thinking, future forward, they've learned to stop paying attention to that number. And they've recognized the value, whether you're a micro creator or if you're in the macro sense. Not to say that there's a limit, but they use the number to show consistency, or at the very least, dedication. I feel like that's what the number should be utilized for. But if you're still, I'm talking to brands here, and I will definitely throw shade at people who do this still. If you are just focused on the CCV or monthly viewership AV, and you're not considering the value of what that of the weight of that creator's ecosystem, you're doing it wrong, and you're probably not a brand worth working with. I mean that sincerely. Now we're talking about the future. I have moved the teams away from considering the average viewership. Now we look at consistency. Like, I feel like that's more valuable. So now I know you are here 5 days a week, no matter what. You might have five viewers, but you're consistent. Using that as your criteria actually tells me a lot more about that individual, and you can use that at scalability as well. There's creators who have 1 million subscribers who can't get a video up in 4 months. That's a whole lot harder to work with, you know, than somebody who's gonna be there. So my hope is to see folks evolve and find themselves looking at the value of a creator's ecosystem. And the last thing I'll say is, if you're digging deeper into creator relationships, you can find many of these examples where you've got 2 YouTube creators at 1 million subscribers who have maybe 20,000 views per video, pretty normal, but they have thousands of Patreon members. They have a dedicated following. You will never know that unless you build a relationship. So suddenly that value, again, now the viewership number is useless. And now you have to think about it that way. So building those relationships and having the dialogue matters a whole lot more now. That's my take.
Okay. Nice. Ari?
Engagement for sure. Like, the follower count doesn't matter as much, but like how many people are engaging and like how captivating what you're talking about and doing is, for sure. And also to Andy's point, like the relationship is really important. So I would say engagement and like also who is around you and like making sure to the point. From my point of view, when I try to get talent in, if I have to make a case to my team about somebody and I'm like, they might not have the engagement, but look where they're at. Look what they're doing. Their net worth is way more of benefit long-term in a relationship with us as a brand than it is just to say, oh, well, they're a few points down here, or they don't have a big enough following. Because I think to the point, people make 10,000 plus on deals and not have 10,000 followers easily. And it's really coming down to what you said, Andy, consistency. Because I have dealt with people who have millions of followers, but they don't post consistently. And it's like, it's very hard because is your audience going to engage when you start posting? And now we've already like, got you briefed and stuff. So I definitely think engagement and like figuring out how to make sure that if you know that your friends are cool, feel free to ask them if you could post and talk about, like, because again, that type of stuff is assessed. It's very nitty gritty from when you're looking at talent in a pool, for sure.
Okay, and Niles, what do you think about that? You look like you got a lot to say about it.
I have a lot to say, but I actually think that both of those answers were super competent and appropriate. I think the reality of it for me is that, like, I was talking to a brand earlier this week, and I just asked straight up, like, what is your core metric? What is the thing that causes you to change your budget consideration? And they said cost per acquisition. They're a subscription service, direct-to-consumer brand. They want subscribers. They don't care how many followers you have. They don't care how many impressions you have. I came in and was like, look, I'm perplexed because my client is creating this much impact from an impression CPM rate. If I just do a simple $20 CPM rate, I can't get to the math you're presenting. Please help me understand. And they said, well, all I care about is how many times the coupon link is used. That is the only metric that I can justify spending more for.
Classic performance marketing. And 5 years ago or 7 years ago when we started Loaded, a long time ago when a lot of us got into the space, the marketing expectations weren't sophisticated enough to have performance marketing outcomes attached to it. So we were effectively seeing people spend out of PR budgets for awareness marketing. And then they were fine with whatever happened because they couldn't track it. And now we're getting much closer to performance marketing. And so honestly, like, pick a brand, see how much more of their product you can move. I promise, if you can move product, the brand will figure out how to pay you. A lot of TikTok creators are learning that, and they're surprising themselves.
You're seeing it, and because TikTok has become so dominant, brands are realizing that they don't have to go spend for awareness on Twitch. They can go get performance money on TikTok. And so that's changing the dynamic and the tenor of the way brands can talk to creators right now. So I just, sell product is honestly my answer.
Yeah.
Okay. And that does make sense because I know when I started doing content creation, when I was working with Noir Network, one of the big things that came up and they asked us, like, what are some dream brands that you would like to work with? And for me, it's like, yes, I'm a gamer, but I have all of this hair. I'd love to have a deal with like a hair care brand. And so they were like, and my skincare comes up a lot too. So they're like, start talking about those brands. And I'm like, but for free? And they're like, just do it. Just show them that you use the product, that, you're interested in it and all of that. And eventually, everything will kind of fall into place. So that's some pretty solid advice, and especially to be able to hear it again, reiterated. It's like, sticking with me. Now, speaking of relationships and building relationships, I'm pretty aware of how important it is to network and things like that in this space to not only learn and grow as a creator, but also to build, said relationships. So, one last question. What do you think is, what are some of the pitfalls that you've noticed that creators make that kind of might hinder that building of brand relationships and things like that? Ari, I'll start with you.
Listen, I appreciate cold emails. I do. But emailing somebody and being like, hey, this is my name and this is what I do, and I really want to work with Target, or I really want to work with this brand. I promise you, my inbox is treacherous. It is the trenches there. And I am sure for everybody on this call, inboxes look crazy, especially on a Monday or like throughout the week, it just gets hectic. I think the best way is like, if you really want to make an impression, LinkedIn. Find somebody on LinkedIn. See if any of these people follow you that work at these brands. Because I promise you, there's some creators, if you look and found me on LinkedIn and looked at my name, I might be following you. You have no idea. I think you need to be really strategic and really like tactical about it, because emails are great and sometimes, but it's like casting a very wide net with no certainty that you will get a fish back. So I think LinkedIn and using social media as well. A DM, honestly, my DMs are quite quiet. So if someone wants to DM me about work there, way higher chance of me saying something back than me seeing you in the 1,000 plus emails I get throughout the week. So like, be strategic and just be like, you know, lead from a place of like of curiosity and not from a place of like, I know I can, I should, I have, blah, blah, blah. Because I get a lot of those where it's like, I'm entitled to this and I know I should. And it's like, I am so sorry. I don't know how to help you because it's not me. I know who my boss is. I know how she runs. And if I took you to her, I don't want to hear that. So,
all right, I'm listening to you. I just feel the pain. Like, I just want to like bring you gifts right now because I know what you're going through.
My boss is my director.
So do you have that?
Okay, very auntie. She's not the one.
Do you have the same experiences, Andy, with the, you know, people just kind of flooding your DMs or, you know, just sending you those random emails?
It's an old problem. I've actually course corrected a lot of folks to stop that. And, you know, it's why I'm very private, because some people have crossed the line. That's all I'll say. Way too many times. But I will tell you this. This could be an entire topic on itself. But there are two things I will tell folks. This is regardless of your size. This is as big as one of the biggest creators on any platform to the micro creator. There are two things I will tell you. There's the difference between criticism and toxicity. So you need to know the difference and think on that. I'm not going to explain it. But number two, when it comes down to speaking to a brand, get specific. There's a difference of that statement that I see all too often is, would love to work with this brand. All these great ideas, would love to be, and you're giving them all the work. Like, you make me famous. Instead, you look straight in the eye and say, this is the product that I want. This is what I want to do. This is my idea. I'm not saying that, hey, you know, you're giving the idea away for free. But at the end of the day, there's a social media person out there saying, get budget, and that actually makes it through all the white noise 9 times out of 10, mostly because there's a strategy. Or if you're looking at your year-long goals and I'm thinking, I got a product that this makes sense for, then we put a tag on it, we'll have that conversation with you, and then it makes sense. But people just don't get specific enough. But even I, as somebody who's nowhere near the size of the people that I work with, have gotten deals by just being really obnoxious and saying, I want to do this, this, and this with that brand, this company, let me know. And then it happens anyway. That doesn't make sense for folks who assume that it should be the hand in hat, but trust me, you are smarter than most of these folks on the other side of the fence. I'm just being honest, where you know your channel, you know your community, just get specific. It works.
Okay, and Niles?
Again, two very competent answers. Like, I don't have that much to add. I love the specificity, right? The thing about specificity is it allows somebody to just say no. It also allows somebody to say yes. If you ask me, hey, could you help me? I don't know. I have to think. I have 7 other things on my to-do list that I'm already committed to thinking about. You are adding work for me. If you give me a question that I can answer inside of 30 seconds, yes, no, you'll eventually get a yes. You will have a rate. They're like, you send 100 questions out to take 30 seconds to answer, and eventually someone's going to say yes. Eventually, you're going to say, Ari, I want this product. I have 7 people in my chat that ask me about this product. I just want to try it on stream. Can you send me that product? It's a yes, it's a no. She'll say yes, she'll say no. If she doesn't answer, by the way, that's no. Don't ask again. And just keep moving. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but being specific helps. The other thing is in terms of like, what is the advice? Like, criticism and toxicity. I know we're out of time. Yeah. Understand that all of you have a unique opinion. Understand that, especially in this era, every single person probably listening to this, listening to my words right now, you are implicitly political. You are explicitly political. There are people who will not like you for no reason. You can give people reasons also not to like you. You have to ride with whatever it is that you are, though. You can't change it.
I like that.
You can't change it to make Target like you. So be what you are, be who you are, be where you are, be proud of that shit. Because ultimately, there is somebody who's going to like you. There is somebody who's going to say yes to your specific question.
Okay, good answer.
Can widen or narrow it based on how many times you say the N-word in 17 seconds when they open your stream because they have to send it to their white colleagues.
Yeah.
You don't want to make people uncomfortable. But you can also decide that you're not here to make white people comfortable, and that will just change the number of brands that you're able to work with, and that's also okay. That's not a bad thing. That's just a choice.
And
So
I just
it
want to
goes back to the top of the conversation. Authenticity matters a lot more than people realize.
It does. And I think I just want to add this because I know we're out of time, is that for these brands, look at their reoccurring campaigns. Target has a bunch of them. There are things that are coming out quarterly, annually. You know that pumpkin Lewis is on his way. Halloween's around the corner. You know Christmas is coming. These are things that are staples. So assess the staples, and then to the point we've made here, figure out where you can fit in the picture and what you can play to your strengths. Because that, again, makes it a lot easier. Because to Now's point, you asking me what I don't know. I half the time don't even know what I'm doing and where I'm going when it comes to this stuff. I'm on Big Red's time. So
all right, well, all wonderful answers. Thank you guys so much for just sharing all this information with us. I learned a lot today. I'm sure everybody else watching did, but we got to go move on to the next panel. So I'm going to have you guys reintroduce yourselves real quick, tell everybody where they can find you, and we're going to get on out of here. So Andy,
Chef Andy Lunique, everywhere on all platforms. It's been a pleasure.
Ari
Hayward, again, manager of talent partnerships and influencer marketing at Target, and you can find me at Ari Hayward on everything as well.
All right, and Niles.
Listen, I'm gonna just go 3 for 3. Niles Heron, drop the Seymour from the title you see in the lower third or bottom third or whatever that is. Like Niles Heron everywhere, and hit me up. I'd love to talk.
Okay, and I will. And for those of you who don't know me again, I am the Geechee Gamer. I'm a variety streamer and content creator. You can find me all over the internet at the Geechee Gamer, exactly how it's spelled right there. And thank you guys so much for attending. Make sure you guys stick around. We have plenty more panels coming up for you. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Geechee, you're amazing.
Thank you.